Lovely, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Amenities, Land and Property Committee. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of March. Welcome to our meeting. We shall start with the usual agenda item, 837. Are there any declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interests, please? For committee members, if you want to contribute, please indicate in the chat. It should be working. If you haven't got a chat option, do a dance or wave your hand or some other means of alerting me, and I shall try to call you in order. So I can't see anybody indicating for the first one. If there is something that crops up during the meeting, please indicate at the required time. Moving on to 838. Do you have any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Councillor Hollis has sent her apologies.
Okay.
And Chair, Councillor Roy Braham has also sent his apologies.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Alan, for both of those. I think most other people are here, so thank you for that. We'll move on to the minutes, 839. These are the minutes from the 3rd of February meeting. There's a note in the chat from Stuart, note in the minutes that he was in attendance but not voting. I think normally we do just put in brackets in attendance rather than list them as committee members. I think that's the point that Stuart is making there. Everybody else, are you happy with the minutes that have been through full council at the end of February? Are you happy that I signed them as a true record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Agree.
Lovely. Thank you very much. That deals with the first couple of bits. Moving on to 840, action points and updates. To receive a verbal update from the officer and chairman. I think, Mark, most things are catch-all from you in your countryside officer's report, but is there anything else under action points that you wanted to raise?
Not really. As I said, I've put under there about the litter pickers. I mean, again, that does come up in the report, but yeah, so we can deal with that as part of the report if you like. But basically, they are around, and I'm just going to try and do a sort of update for the existing litter picking advice that will sort of cover one or two other issues, potentially including if people want to water any of the trees outside their houses. But basically, from if there are people interested, then the litter pickers for families are now available, or the kits.
Brilliant, that's really encouraging, Mark. I'm glad to hear that. The only point I was going to make under litter pickers is I was reading something the other day about the sort of official start of spring coming up in March. I think from memory it's something like the 20th of March. So I wonder if when we get to what will it be, community engagement, that we look to do some sort of press release, social media statement, just announcing that these litter pickers are available for families, and sort of package it under a sort of a bit of a community spring clean, with, you know, linked with the official start of spring. I think, have we got 17? Did I remember that right? 17 sets? I can't remember how many.
Yes, I think it is. Yep, 17.
Yeah, so we've got 17 to get rid of, and obviously if we can try and get them all allocated sooner rather than later, then that will be you know, good to, you know, help with the sort of tidy up of the town. But if committee members are aware of any individuals that would benefit from them, you know, do let Mark know. They're no good sat in a cupboard, so let's get them all allocated as soon as we can. That's you know, really encouraging.
It might just be worth the committee having a think about when also you'd like to resume handing out the litter picking kits for community groups, because we have had a number of inquiries through the various lockdowns. I'm not intending to ask for a decision on that for the moment, but perhaps we should review that in time for our next meeting in light of sort of easing of restrictions as they come in.
Yep. Cool, that makes sense. Yeah, I think everything else is covered under that item, so we'll move on to 841, financial report for month 11. Thank you as ever to Aaron for circulating this in good time for the meeting. We're coming up to the year end now, so it's a majority of confirmed information rather than possible expenditure. Is there any questions or comments from committee members on the report, please? Nope. Alan, is there anything else you wanted to add to the report? I mean, it's all fairly self-explanatory, and I can see your notes that go with it, which are really helpful.
I think, Chair, just to reinforce that at the next ALP meeting, we'll be looking at committees to reserve any unspent monies that they have for projects that are not committed, and it's just to bear that in mind so that we can put something final at the next meeting. So I'll try and distribute information even earlier so that the committee's in a position to do that.
Brilliant, that's really helpful. At the moment, we are predicted a bit of an underspend, but obviously we haven't got the final figures for the year. But by April, we should be much clearer, and we can make a decision as to what we wish to do with that underspend, or use it for the sort of general pot, if you like. But that's really helpful, Alan, so thank you for that. Moving on to, I don't see anyone else indicating, so forgive me if I'm going too fast, but do shout if you want to contribute. The next item is 84220, purchase of refurbishment of benches. Roger's been doing some brilliant work, you'll all be aware, refurbishing some existing benches, which is encouraging. And I think it was Dave that brought up about the picnic tables by the river, probably about 6 months ago now. And the belief was that they were Brecon Council benches. They've now confirmed that they're not, and they believe them to be Town Council benches. You can see in the picture they're a little bit of a mess. And then the other picture was on the river pathway, which is part of the sculpture trail, where there is a concrete pad, and there used to be a bench along there many years ago, and it was taken out. And I was just wondering, given that we've got an underspend on street furniture, whether the committee would be happy to support a new bench on that concrete pad and 2 replacement picnic tables by 3 Nuns Bridges. So that's the first point. And then the second point is, at the moment they are wooden, those picnic tables. And I wonder if it's an opportunity to upgrade them to metal rather than wooden so that they last longer. And we go with a heritage black, which seems to be the adopted theme, certainly for our bins. And that's what the new benches have been repainted with, black. So there's a couple of questions there. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment. So it's a new bench along the river path and picnic tables. Yes, Jane, please.
Thank you, Chair. Specifically on the picnic style table, I noticed that it says it's an MBB recycled heavy duty A-frame. Am I correct in the understanding that this is similar to the ones, you won't, I'm going to say, that are in the school playgrounds, but obviously a lot of you won't know those, that they're an extrusion from recycled plastic. Is that what we're looking for here? And the only thing that concerns me about that is microparticles, because as all plastic breaks down, whether it's recycled or not, that does come into our atmosphere, that does go into our riverways, that ultimately ends up in our oceans. Do we have an idea of, I don't know if it's a word, the degradability of that? I know these things have a long lifetime, but is that what we're looking at, these recycled plastic extrusions, and what sort of guarantee do they have, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Jane. I was having a conversation with the town clerk about how we could do with adopting a standard design and sort of specification for street furniture. And I think we're kind of there with litter bins now, less so with benches. Personally, I prefer the metal ones, because after a few years, if they've been graffitied or scratched, you know, they can be taken away and repainted, or I can't remember what it's described. Roger described it to me once and I forgot it, but basically they can be refreshed. I'm not sure if the plastic ones are as durable as that, so we would need to look into it. The picture on the screen is one that I supplied to give a bit of an idea of cost and size. But my preference personally would be to go for metal rather than the plastic, but would have to check with officers about suppliers that we use regularly and what they've got available, to be honest with you, because I'm not sure who we use for benches, and that would be worth checking to see what they've got.
Chair, I can have some input if that helps.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, I don't know whether they come with a guarantee of degradability, but I can just say from my experience, the recycled plastic, they're incredibly dense. They are really very, very tough and thick. They don't burn, they don't bend, they don't break. They are very tough and hard wearing. So I think it certainly is an option, obviously, that you can consider the metal ones. I know Roger's got some at the moment that are being blasted and then resprayed, so they can be basically sort of sandblasted off and then resprayed, the metal ones. The recycled plastic ones, as I say, they are very, because they're so dense, very little wears off it, and I've seen some that have been there for sort of over a decade, and they are still in a pretty good state. So I think they are a viable option that you might want to consider, depending on other considerations.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Mark. Sandblasting and resprayed was the words I was looking for and I couldn't remember, but that's great. Jane, did you want to come back on that? Does that help?
If I may, thank you, Terry. I have to say, in terms of the durability, I am a great fan of these. We've invested in them in some of the local schools where I've been involved as a school governor. And if they can cope with young people using them as a climbing frame and still remain robust and actually look quite good long term, as Mark has said already, they are really great. I'm just mindful of that introduction of further plastic into our environment. But on the plus side, they are recycled, so there is a mitigation there. Thank you, Chair.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Jane. That's useful. I appreciate the sort of technical knowledge from Mark. That's good. Stuart, next, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm supportive of the idea of replacement benches. I'm just conscious that we need to probably be, why not in this instance, but mindful when we're looking to provide extra benches, the possibility of a disabled friendly one. We sometimes see benches where there's space for a wheelchair to come up to the table and not fill some classes, and maybe if we put one or two or more in, then the option of a disabled friendly one where either one part of the seat is removed or an end overhang allows the wheelchair user to come to the table. Just something to bear in mind, I think, for when we're looking at benches generally, to provide that little extra provision for those incapable of doing as much as we can.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Stuart. That's really useful. For these two specific ones, I mean, you probably know the location as well as I. There are some existing concrete pads that they sit on. And I think what we'd need to do is to check the size of them versus the bench to make sure that you could adequately fit, that design of bench onto the pad, without causing any issues. But I think, putting a mixture of sizes and designs is, useful, assuming we can do that. In terms of the decision, I'm sort of looking to Mark and Alan now. Sort of Stuart and Jane have indicated that they're happy. Do you want us to just sort of agree the principle as a committee and you guys go away and sort of look at costs and options? And I don't think we've got Roger on the call today, but he would know about, who we use normally and getting them ordered.
Chair, we can do that.
Yeah,
absolutely. I suppose you'll be looking to wait until you've got the actual amount in terms of underspend before you look at the numbers of that sort of thing. But you're looking for designs, sort of preferred or a set of options to look at, so that you can sort of pick from the menu, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the underspend. If I understand it correctly, Alan, we've got almost £3,000 underspent for street furniture. So I think if the one bench and the two picnic tables are sort of well within sort of affordability for that, so that's fine. If we sort of delegate sort of next steps to you guys to get on, I'd quite like to get them in sooner rather than later, because obviously the river corridor is getting busy now, the sort of weather improving. So if we could get them in and sort of, if you guys could just maybe email the committee once we've sort of selected options.
Happy to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mike.
I'm sorry to butt in. I'm struggling to find a hands up facility that works at the moment. Forgive me for shouting. I may have missed something. I'm all in favour of the type of benches that are being proposed, but what I might have missed is a clear recognition that the current benches have come to the end of their useful life. I mean, I walk past them every day. They are still being used. so they're usable. Is there some way you can simply revamp them a bit or resurface them to give them another 5 or 10 years first before we spend 350 each on them?
Yes,
it would be an option. Certainly the one that was photographed, I'm very familiar with it, and if the committee so decides, sanding and repainting in situ, I think could be done.
Brilliant. Well, if we task Roger and co with sort of having a look at seeing what can be done with it, it can be reinforced or certainly sanded down and repainted. But let's recycle them if we can. But let's, in that busy area, I think some sort of, more durable ones would be useful. But we won't skip them straight away, the wooden ones. Plenty of other uses for them. Okay, in terms of decisions and whatnot, Alan, are you happy that we just sort of agree to that, or do you want people to put in the chat that they're happy with the spend?
Chair, there's a hands up from Councillor Hodgkinson.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. I think Jane was in before me, actually.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Jane.
That's okay. I was actually going to make the proposal, Chair, if I may, to have a costing exercise done. One, the refurbishment of the existing, because to repair is always better than to renew. And then, as you've already stated, the costing exercise in earnest for the one metal bench and 2 recycled picnic benches, and then we can do a compare and contrast, and this committee can make its decision next month.
Okay, is there a seconder for Jane's proposal?
I'll second it, Chair.
Thank you, Dennis. All in agreement?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I think
I
that
had a commentary with my point, but it was just a bit of information that, as I first pointed out, the shabbiness of these, and certainly one of them had bits hanging off and was very, very shaky and wobbly, may be able to be repaired. And also I had a quick look online after Stuart made his point, and they do the recycled one with a space for a wheelchair to get under.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Dave. Yeah, I remember you raising about the benches a while ago, so it's good that we can get on and action this. I can see a hand up. Brenda, please.
Yeah, it's just, but we should keep in mind, although we have an underspend, can we make sure that we are working to the priorities? Because it might be some of our underspend needs to go into our priorities that we might not have finished. Yep. Just a thought. Thank you.
Lovely. Noted. And yeah, I think that's everybody now. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 84320, which is health and safety, to receive verbal update on any matters requiring the attention of the committee. Anything from yourself, Mark?
Yes, I'm still, everything is being rather held up by one tree in the cemetery at the moment. Our tree works contractor sort of doesn't want to do bits and bobs. They want to do all of the Thetford stuff in one go. Our tree inspection consultant is trying to sort of get an answer on this one tree from Hugh Coggles at Bretland, of whether or not it has a tree preservation order on it. So things are being held up much longer than I wanted them to. But I keep on at this, and I hope to get an answer in time for the next meeting. But the tree safety work will have to go ahead with due precautions for nesting birds. But that will have to go ahead, in the next few weeks. And included in that is the moving of the tree trunk that's been identified by Councillor Harvey, I think it was, wasn't it, as an issue along Mill Lane. Yeah, that's all I want to say on that.
Brilliant. Okay, that's good news that that's progressing. Chris, did you want to add anything else as sort of health and safety lead for the committee? Chris Harvey.
No, all right, Terry. Thank you very much. Just I'd like to thank Mark for his, trying to get the things sorted in Mill Lane, and I'm well aware.
I am trying. I really am trying.
It's right. I won't.
Very frustrating process getting all this together.
I won't run you over when I come past you in the car next time.
That's always reassuring, Chris. Thank you. Lovely, thanks, Mark. I don't see anyone else indicated, so we'll move on to the next one. It's you again, Mark, with your countryside officers report. Thank you very much.
Yes, we don't have Roger here today. Is that right? I've actually checked whether he's come in.
Yeah, I haven't seen him, so I think it's just yourself. Although there are a couple of notes from Roger in the report.
Yeah, so I don't propose to sort of go through all of his report. I'm sort of partly, at least, familiar with all of these, but basically, I think the Thomas Plain Plinth, the quotes are being obtained. They didn't quite get in time for sort of a decision at this meeting, but that is being pursued. You mentioned about the sandblasting of the benches there, and again, the shambles is sort of an ongoing process of trying it back in use. So the replacement bins for Norwich Road area, I understand the committee is very supportive of those being replaced, and they will therefore happen imminently. Pine Close, I'm sure everyone will be delighted to know that's sort of now fully in use, and I've seen it being used. So that's all quite nice. There's some nice daffodils coming up around the edge as well, which we put in last year, which is nice. Litter pickers we've already mentioned. So as I said, that's again available basically now. Path at Four Meadows is rapidly drying out, but we are just trying to get a little bit more aggregate onto that to keep its head above water. But you can kind of see on the left there that at least partly passable. That was sort of several days ago, and sort of probably getting better now. I don't think we're probably going to need to do anything really drastic with that path in the near future, but we will obviously keep an eye on it, make sure that that is not going to be a sort of ongoing issue. The report, so Ellis Selway from the Environment Agency, we've actually arranged for him to speak. So this is going to be 2 p.m. on the 9th. I'll invite everyone to a sort of Teams meeting for that. But if you want to sort of write down in a paper diary, old school like I do, that'll be 2 p.m. on the 9th of March, if that's convenient. I don't know whether anybody wants to sort of comment on that at this stage, or say that's a really bad time or anything. But if members are happy with that, we'll invite Ellis to speak to you all on next Tuesday afternoon. Any comments at that point, Chair, or shall I move on?
Can I just check, Mark, are we having that as a sort of special out meeting, or is that just going to be an informal briefing?
I think the latter, but it can be, I suppose, whatever you want it to be, really, can't it, I suppose? I would have thought it's a lot easier if it's a briefing rather than a special out meeting, because you're not really making a decision. I don't think you're required to make a decision on it. It's an update, and I don't think we have a sort of definite yes or no answer. I think the intention is that having had this briefing, you're then able to make a decision at the next meeting in April.
Okay, yeah, I'm content with that as long as the committee are happy with that approach.
Yeah. Okay. In which case, I'll move through the gears, as it were. The only thing to note about Barham Cross Common, the volunteers have been sort of absolutely brilliant as always. It's sort of a bit of a thankless task, constantly bashing away at the gorse. We have had a bit of an issue with ID Verdi. They haven't sort of been able to commit enough resources to do the second phase 2 and 3 as we had it before, which was agreed by the committee in time before the nesting season kicked in. So I've at the moment got some trees with spray paint marks on them, and we're not going to be able to do anything about that till October, which is frustrating. But the decision had to be made in the end that we will sort of delay that. And I think Alan mentioned about sort of the creation of reserves in due course. So the money that was committed for this year, I'm going to be asking that is put sort of back. So the work will happen in 6 months' time, basically, and then we can look at potentially further things for after that. But so it's a bit of an annoying situation, but I think we just have to live with that as it is for now. So as I said, Milford Common, Castle Park. It's just worth noting that members may have seen the playboat is basically pretty much done. The trim trail, I've just had an update today. They basically said the equipment they were using was a year old, and when they looked at it again, they realised it wasn't up to current regulations, the things that they were going to install, so they needed to modify it slightly. So basically, you'll have seen there's a sort of Harris fenced off area with some of the footings already in place. The archaeology bit's been done for that and the playboat, with nothing really of any significance coming up, but that is now imminent in the next few days, next week or so. We should expect to see the trim trail going in as well. So really nice to we'll be able to have those ready for the Easter holidays, it appears. The fencing. As you may have noted, a running theme of frustration to a certain extent. There's been a bit of a to and fro with CGM, who were ordered the tender for the fencing, over whether or not they were supposed to be clearing the vegetation in order to put the fencing in. That is still unresolved, I suppose, at this stage. I think the tender clearly says that they are to remove the vegetation, but yeah, I can't really sort of update further on that at the moment. We're still in the sort of discussion with that of what's needed. It also seems that the fence line may need some pruning of some of the trees, which will again delay things because of the need for it's in the conservation area, so there's permission for that. So yeah, fencing is again not happening as soon as I might have hoped. But we'll see with that. There's also one question that perhaps some members may know the answer to, over whether the fences of between the gardens or the backyards of the houses that back onto Castle Park ramparts are actually the town councils or the individual house and business owners there. If anybody has any sort of more indication of knowledge of who actually owns those fences, that would be really interesting to know, because I'm not sure about whether they're actually ours. They seem to be different on the backs of different houses. So I'd be really grateful if anyone could confirm that. Further on that, the rest of the site, as I said, I don't think there's anything hugely sort of controversial to say, apart from lots of lovely spring bulbs coming up. Yeah, I think we will sort of again, the mulch mats you may have seen coming around. Hopefully people had a chance to note that they will be put around some of the trees around town where they were funded. So you won't see them everywhere, but that will happen in places. Yeah, I think that's all I need to say. Thank you, Joe.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Mark. Are there any questions, please, from committee members or comments on Mark's report? Yes, Dennis.
Can I have a? Yeah, just on the contract things. I was one of the people who looked over the contracts and everything, and there was definitely a section in there that they should clear the any vegetation in the line of the fencing. Yeah, because I remember it distinctly. So
yeah, I mean it is written down in the documents. So yeah, we'll I'll update you on that further when we have a sort of more of a resolution. But thank you for that. I agree. And thank you for talking to that. While I think about it, one of the ladies who sort of, shall we say, interested in the works going on at Barn Cross Common, because I know you sort of spent quite a long time on the phone with her, and I know perhaps other members may have had similar issues. So hopefully the sort of briefing notes we've provided on why the works are happening and what's going on has been useful to members.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's really useful, Dennis. That's sort of first-hand knowledge, which is really good. I've got hands up next from Chris Harvey, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I'd like to give my congratulations to your volunteers on the common. I took my grandchildren over there Sunday, and it was really good. There's several people about, all socially distanced. No one complained about the fact the trees are disappearing. But I do have one question. The bits that are flooded.
Which bits do you mean?
If you go down towards the river, there are several little ponds.
Yes.
Which is really good to see.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite interesting to see there. will that have any effect on the plants and the animals, on the invertebrates on the common before that goes away?
Well, most of those low-lying areas do have sort of moisture-loving or semi-wetland vegetation in them. You can actually see that. I mean, it's a project for the long term. I have been looking at sort of options for various funding possibilities for this, but one thing that I would like potentially to see is to do some more by agreement with Natural England and Historic England, etc., but looking into the possibilities of doing some scrapes in those areas for exactly the reason you mentioned, to encourage some more sort of wetland vegetation to establish in those sort of hollows that are sort of gradually will tend to fill up over time with sort of as the vegetation grows and decays back, and so they will tend to fill in. So it would be a very interesting possibility for the future to look at sort of more expanding of those areas, because, well, as we know from Nuns Bridges, when you do a scrape, you never know what's going to come up, and those wetland areas, I think in particular, have become, could certainly be more biodiverse if we did sort of expand those hollows. So to answer your questions, yes, it's going to be very interesting. We do, again, as you'll all know from Numbers, we do have quite a good botanist as one of our volunteers, and the Bretland Flora group also do monitor the site. So the fact that those areas are getting a good soaking is probably no bad thing at all, and it would be very interesting to see what happens. See if we get plants on that part of the site.
Lovely. Thank you, Mark.
And on the subject of appreciation of the volunteers as well, by the way, I had the group were out today, and we had the letters have been landing on doormats, the thank you letters. So that's definitely appreciated. That the councillors are supportive and appreciate the volunteers. So thanks to the chair and everyone for sort of agreeing to that letter. And as I said, that has now sort of been delivered to all the volunteers. So thanks for that.
Brilliant. That's good news. Brenda, next please. Yeah, Brenda.
Yes.
Are you there, Brenda?
Now.
Sounding muffled.
Can't get any nearer. It's in my face.
That's better.
About a year ago, Mark, you can do some work in the cemetery, wildlife work.
Yeah.
Are you still? I know, you're not on the cemetery committee. That's why I'm bringing it up here. But you can have a little pond or something. We haven't heard anything since.
No, I mean, I'm very happy to go and speak to the cemetery committee on another occasion. Just briefly, there was a plan for a memorial garden area in sort of about halfway up the site. There is actually a sort of another sort of memorial garden, I know, going in with some nice fruit trees and hedging and towards near the road on the site. We do continue. We have put in a lot more new sort of flowering trees and hedging around the site and over the winter. And we are putting in. We've got some external funding for some bird boxes, bat boxes, and I know Councillor Brame, I don't think he's here, is he? But Councillor Brame was particularly asking about swift boxes, which we've now got. So there will be some additional bird boxes going into the site. In terms of digging a pond, I mean, yes, I'd still like to do that. It would need a sort of a bit of funding. We were looking, I think a year ago, we were looking for an external funding to dig and line a pond, which didn't come to anything in the end, unfortunately. But yes, I'm still sort of looking for opportunities to enhance the cemetery wildlife in any way we can. And the wildflower meadows there, I think, have been a super success. They've been really rich in nectar and encouraging insects. And yes, I will happily report to the cemetery committee on that, I suppose, rather than sort of using out time with it much more, if that's all right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's good to have an awareness of it and the sort of bigger picture. So.
Yeah, Nick's very good on encouraging the wildlife as well, very much so, definitely.
Brilliant. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments, please, for Mark? No, I've got a couple of my own, Mark, before we move off. Just firstly on Pine Close play area, I appreciate it's more Roger than yourself. Very pleased, obviously, to see that it's back open and usable. I did notice, though, that one of the swings is still missing. It's not a sort of complete set of swings there. So I just wondered if that was aware of and whether a new one's been ordered or what the score is there, because yeah, it's a very popular play area, but they're a swing down.
Right. OK, I'll look into that.
Lovely. Thank you. And the Thomas Paine plinth, forgive me, I'm struggling to remember. I thought we'd agreed the quote at the last month's meeting to go ahead with the work, and I was a bit confused that we're now seeking additional quotes. So I just wondered if you could just remind me where we're at with the Thomas Paine statue.
I'm not sure, and it's probably sort of a mistake for me to speak further on it. I understand. I think because of the sum involved, that 3 quotes are required. Probably. I don't know whether Alan can sort of say what the criteria is when we need to get 3 quotes.
That's right, Chair. In terms of the financial regulations, expenditure above a certain amount has to have 3 quotes. And so straight after the last ALP meeting, we just asked Roger to go and get the additional quotes so that we have the information to support ourselves from an accounting and financial regulation compliance perspective.
OK, so is that just an exercise of getting the additional paperwork, or will that come back to next month's ALP meeting for us to make a decision on which one we go with?
Sorry, it'll come back to next month's ALP decision.
Okay.
Meeting, sorry.
That's fine. I just want to be clear because, you know, there's an expectation amongst the public that the plinth is being done, and it would be helpful if we are clear when we answer people as to where we're at with it.
I think it's very unfortunate. We're having a bit of a challenge getting quotes in at the moment. So I'm not too sure whether it's the end of COVID or whether this change of weather has got people out more. But we really are battling. So there are a number of quotes that we're still waiting to come in. I know that Roger has been putting pressure on the relevant contractors to do that.
Brilliant, thank you. I mean, it is quite specialist. I can't imagine there's too many people that do that sort of work either. So one way or the other, hopefully we'll get an update next month. I would be quite keen, if we don't manage to get 3 quotes, that we can ultimately make a decision or not as a council to maybe suspend financial regs in that instance, given it's specialist, but happy for the time being to try and at least get 3 quotes. But, you know, I think we need to finish the job properly whilst, you know, when we can. And the last point I was going to raise is probably, again, more for Alan than Mark, just in relation to the shambles. Again, we're now moving into March. They've been empty since September. What's the likelihood that we're going to be getting the necessary work done and then rented out in a timely manner?
There has been some progress. We are. There was a quote that was supposed to have come in the previous week. They're at the stage we've cleaned up. They've been cleaned up internally. We're just waiting for someone to do a little bit of work on Unit 1. We're talking to someone on Unit 3 who may want to take the unit as it is and decorate it and do whatever work. Yeah. So that process is happening. But it's the town clerk has been sending out numerous emails, just reminding everyone that has to be done and has to be done properly.
Brilliant. I'm really glad to hear that, because obviously, you know, we're losing money every month they're empty, but also we do have people that are interested in renting them, so we don't want them to miss the opportunity to do so. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Alan.
I hope Roger won't mind me saying, and well, Nick and indeed Chris as well, that was a horrible, horrible job they had to do there. So you know, I think you know, it'd be nice for the committee should just note that it was a miserable, nasty, horrible, greasy job that the guys did there. So I'd just like to congratulate them for you know, their really hard work in getting it to the state it is in at the moment, because the state it was in before, some of you will know, was pretty grim.
I wonder, Mark, if before we do let them, it might be an idea just to give the committee members the opportunity to see the space, because obviously several of us would have been down there when the previous tenants were in there. And before we now let them out again, I would like to have a look at the work that Roger's done and the rest of the team, because it's quite hard to picture. We haven't seen what's happened. So perhaps before we rent them out, we can actually just arrange for people to be able to pop in and have a look. I think that'd be quite useful.
I presume that's feasible, Alan, isn't it? The keys at the Carnegie, or
the keys are at the Carnegie.
Yeah.
I think
once lockdown eases and we're allowed out again. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I do appreciate the work that's gone on there. Okay, I don't see anybody else indicating on this one, so thank you as ever for the updates. They are appreciated. Moving on to 84520, small grants. My intention is to take them in the order as they're printed on the agenda. They have all been circulated in advance, and I think it's just for Alan to confirm that we've received all of the necessary documentation and whatnot for each one, Alan. But if I hand over to you and you can take us through the first one, please, which is the GW Stanleyforth Bowls Club, please.
Thank you, Chair. This application was received sometime in January. The application is just for some assistance in redecoration of the Bowls Clubhouse, with the intention of encouraging better usage and encouraging people to watch bowls. There was a slight change to the application form that got circulated, but it's not that significant that it would change the information that has already been distributed to members. I'm not too sure if there's any questions on it, but from an evaluation perspective, we've gone through and all the I've prepared a compliance evaluation form that's been circulated to all the members, and as far as we're concerned, they've complied with everything that's been asked of them to support their grant application.
Brilliant, thank you. I was talking to an ALP committee member the other day, Alan, and we were both saying how great your process is now for assessing the paperwork and whatnot for grants. So they might not say publicly. So just so you know, that we have noticed that work's been ongoing and very appreciative. Thank you. Are there any questions from committee members on the first application, please?
Could I get a proposal and seconder for each one, please, Chair?
Yeah, that's fine, Chris. I don't see any questions, so the paperwork's all in order. So can I have a proposer and a seconder for the GW Stanleyforth Bowls Club application, please?
I'll propose Chris Harvey.
Chris Harvey, thank you, Chris. And a seconder?
I'd be glad to second it, Dennis Crawford.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Alan, in terms of procedure, do you want us to indicate in the chat box that we are happy with each one? I think that probably would be best.
I agree, Chair, that would be best.
Okay, so if members could indicate in the chat box that they wish to vote for or against or abstain in relation to the first one, as proposed and seconded by Chris and Dennis. And I'll just give folks a minute to do that. Dennis, I know you can't use the chat, but given that you seconded it, I'm going to count you as a 4.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so Dave, Chris, Carla, Mark, Brenda abstain. Brilliant. I think that's a majority 4. Are you happy with that one, Alan?
I am, Chair. Thank you very much.
Very much. Moving on to the second one, the Involve Razine CIC Polish School, prizes for an art competition. Over to you, Adam.
Again, this application came in just before the last ALP meeting, so I didn't have a chance to evaluate it and distribute it at that stage. We have previously given this organisation a grant. I think that was discussed 2 meetings ago, where they had to defer because a theatre production because of COVID-19. This is really just an art competition, again, arising from COVID-19, just to keep children involved. It's a slightly broader reach in the sense that it's for Thetford, same with Thetford children, but also children in surrounding areas. We've done the evaluation and all the information requested has been provided.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. I can see hands up from Brenda first, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm still concerned that they still haven't spent the last £300. And why couldn't they have used that for this?
Yeah, I'm not sure how quickly they were proposing to spend the last one after we approved the change. So I think that would be a sort of valid question, Alan, to go back to them before we release, presuming we do approve this, before we release the next lot of money, confidence that they've spent the first lot. Would that be a fair request?
I think, Chair, just going back, what they did is they said that they wouldn't be able to hold it. So all we did is we actually gave them a longer period of up to 2 years to have their theatre production, and if they didn't have it then, they would return the funds. I think there is a slightly different objective in terms of this is just prizes, whereas that was an event that they couldn't hold because it was beyond their control. And they still won't be able to hold it, possibly until the end of the year or early next year.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Dennis, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I seem to be out of it a little bit. On this one, the prizes, are they open to all the children in the Thetford area, or is it specific people who go to that school?
I'm not sure. Does it state on the application form, Alan, what the membership is?
It's trying to, it's for children in Thetford and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, but is that all children, or is it just totally related? Because it's for prizes, and I want to know if the competition is open to all children, or if it's only open to attendees of the school. It doesn't seem to be clarified. That doesn't seem to be clarified. Maybe somebody else can clarify it for me.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at the application form. We'll note that for the second, Dennis, because I can see we've got hands up from Jane.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Terry. It's actually to assist Councillor Crawford. It states that I'm going to buy prizes for the contestants. I suppose 60 children will take part in them. And then if we note that their membership is quoted as 10 up to 5, 68 6 to 18, 3 19 to 30, and 4 31 to 59, who I presume are the supporting team. I would suggest that it's probably only targeted for their customers, as it were, which is completely understandable because they're providing a service to those people. Hope that helps, Dennis.
Thank you very much for clarification, Jane.
Yep, that's really helpful, Jane. Thank you for that. Any other questions, please, on this one? No, can't see anyone else indicating. So in the same procedure, could I have a proposer?
I'm happy to propose that.
Thank you, Dave. And a seconder, please.
Yeah, I'll second Chris Harvey.
Chris Harvey, thank you, Chris. If you could indicate in the chat whether you are for or against or abstain, please, on this second application. Dennis, I know you can't use the chat, so did you want to say verbally?
Yeah, I found all these little symbols I've been pressing, so that might be it. But yeah, I'm thumbs up to it. Thank you.
Thank you. So 4, 1, 2, 3, 2 against. Dennis is 4. Mr. Brindle, are you for or against?
Sorry, Terry, I'm struggling. The answer, if you can hear me, the answer is I'm for.
You're 4. Lovely. So I can see certainly 5 people for and 2 against, which I would suggest is a majority there. Against. Lovely. Alan, are you happy with that? That's a majority for?
I am, Chair.
Thank you very much. And the last but no means least, we have the third and final application from Leaping Hare. This is to fund media-related equipment. Over to you, Alan.
Again, Chair, we've assessed the information. All the information requested was provided. This particular project is to help them with their online presence, to create what they call product effective images that they can put onto their website and further develop a click and collect service. So that's my understanding of what the grant's going to be used for.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Again, this one was circulated. Do you have any questions? I can see, Brenda, you've got hands up.
Sorry, I haven't took it down.
That's okay. I think that's the first one of the day, so don't worry. Dennis, please, you've got hands up. Or are you just doing random symbols at me?
No, I think I was from the last time. I'm the second one of the day, then. Sorry.
Quite all right. And I don't see anybody else indicating. So the same process as before. We're getting to have a hand at this. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for the third application, please?
Chair, I would propose that.
Thank you, Dennis. And a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second Chris Harvey.
Thank you, Chris. This is normally a challenge of who can unmute quickly enough. If you could indicate, please, in the chat whether you are for or against this third application from Leaping Hare, please. I shall count you as for, Dennis, seeing as you proposed. Oh, there we go. What have we got? Brilliant. Thank you very much. Alan, are you content that there's a majority for there?
I am, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That deals with all of them. Thank you very much for going through all of those, and thank you, Alan, for processing them.
Yeah, could I just confirm they were all for £300, please?
I'm not sure if they were.
They are, Chair.
They are. I do apologise. Yeah, they are.
Thank you.
That's really helpful. The only other point I was going to make under this agenda item is that we've remarkably stuck to our budget for small grants this year, and we're fairly close to the amount, but under by a little bit. I think it'd be really useful if we just take stock maybe at the next meeting with a list of all the different groups that we've supported for the year, and the amount. It's probably worthy of a press release. There's lots of groups that have been supported, and you know, Town Council acknowledged for the good work that it's done supporting them, and the good work that the groups have done, obviously. But any other questions or comments from people on item 845? Nope. Lovely. Thank you very much. 846 metal notice boards. We introduced this one last month, and we were tasked with going away to find some additional information. And I'm hoping, Stuart Wright, that I can hand over to you to give a bit of an update, please. And I shall mute myself and let you do that one.
Okay, thank you, Terry. At the last meeting, I had a call in to the people who'd taken over from the previous manufacturers. I think I mentioned the last meeting. People who made them no longer exist. They've transferred their business to another organisation in Nottingham. I've contacted them 4 times now, trying to get an answer of how much it would cost to have those plaques remade. I've again spoken to somebody on the reception today. I've sent the images, and I'm still awaiting response to them. So whilst pursuing that, I think it'd be worthwhile, as Roger does have one of the plaques in store, to go to a local foundry. I think there may be one in Norwich, to get a price for how much they would be. Obviously, that would be useful information anyway, compared to these people who are supposed to be coming back. So unfortunately, not much further on, but hopefully we can pursue that in a different way. But at least we've tried our best with the previous people who did do them.
Brilliant, thank you. I suspect when we get to April, this will be a good one for us to use maybe some of the underspend for to help sort of, action what we need to do in relation to the boards. But for now, does anyone have any questions on that one?
Could I come back, Terry? I think, yes, I think by April, you should have a price that you can earmark to get those 3 plaques made. We also mentioned last time around about getting a price for painting the lecterns. I've had a quick look. We did use a 2-part paint on some of the small plaques on the walls, but the drawback of using that is you've got to use it once you've made the 2-part paint up. So I'm thinking we look to green hammerite. Maybe they do a shade quite similar. That's about £75 for 5 litres. If Roger could bear that in mind when he's looking for quotes to get the 4 plinths repainted. I think one of the ideas was get a quote from a painter so that we can have that money earmarked to get those done as well.
Brilliant. Mark, I know that Roger's not here, obviously, but are you happy to sort of take notes and sort of tell him what we're going to ask him to do for us? Is that okay?
Yeah, basically, yeah, just to get quotes for, or try and find a local foundry that will can reproduce the stored plaque, and to get quotes for repainting of the 4 plinths to compare with the cost of paint and him doing it.
Thank you. Brenda, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you just remind me what plaques we're looking at here? Because I was asked earlier and I completely forgot.
No.
So because it says metal notice boards, I'm thinking that metal notice boards. But what are these? Are these the metal notice boards where you're showing what went on in this area? Not as what you put a sticker on, but they're sort of like embossed. Or are we talking about the plaques that go in the wall, or are we talking about metal notice boards?
They are the 5 green metal signs, boards, whatever you want to call them, that make up the Thetford Heritage Trail. So there's one outside Wetherspoons on the Market Square. That tells you what was going on in that area and different bits of history. And they're dotted around the town. There's one on the town bridge. And in the floor, there's some metal little roundels that say Thetford Heritage Trail, and there's a sort of loop that you can go around along the river and through the town.
So it's them.
Yeah, it's town council owned. The town clerk managed to dig up the paperwork to confirm that they are our responsibility, but several of them have the roundels have disappeared, and several of all of them, the green signs have sort of faded and been chipped over time. So the idea is we give them a bit of a spruce up and make the trail viable again, because at the moment it's not a complete trail as such. So Stuart's been doing some great work looking at costs, so we can do that work basically.
So are we now going to have that as one of our priorities for the new term?
Well, I think I need to dig out the priorities for ALP. Maybe it's a good opportunity at the next meeting, because you've raised it, just to have a bit of a refresh on how we're getting on with our priorities. But from memory, there is one on there already around street furniture and refreshing and sort of taking stock of our street furniture. And I include those signs as part of the street furniture. So I think it is already on there. But I think we would do well to refresh ourselves with that list.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Stuart, do you want to come back?
Yeah, just to clarify for Brenda, so we've got the 4 lectern lean-to signs that we're looking to put the plaques and header board replacement. Terry also alluded to the discs in the ground, most of which are missing, and that's something I think we need to look at as a town about our heritage route, and whether they are replaced either by some resin ones, or we use a different insignia or etching onto paving slabs. But if we are truly going to have this heritage trail working, we do need to get some of those markers put back in place. But in the short term, all we're looking at is doing the circular roundels on the green lecterns.
Yep. Any other questions, please, on this agenda item? No, so work in progress, and look forward to a bit of an update from Roger and Stuart at our April meeting. But thank you so far on the work that you've done. Moving on to 847, correspondence. To note and discuss any correspondence received. Anything, Mark, that you want to make us aware of?
Nothing that isn't already covered.
Thank you very much. Alan, are you still with us? Anything you want to mention under correspondence?
There's nothing further to add, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. 848, community engagement, to discuss and agree any consultation or media release required. So we touched upon small grants earlier. That's one to follow up with. And I can't remember what the other one was.
The spring clean.
Oh, that was it. The litter pickers for the spring clean. Anybody got any other suggestions around community engagement, please?
Mr. Chairman, when you're saying it's litter pick day, wouldn't it be nice if Mark chose an area? And what we done the other year is we all met up and litter picked one big area as the town council and volunteers.
I think at the moment, with sort of the way things are, sort of COVID-wise, I'd be reluctant to organise a sort of group litter pick. But if we make the kits available to people, I'm sure they will know where the hotspots are, but certainly we could suggest a couple of areas maybe that we would like them to focus on. But of course, people are, at liberty to pick their own areas, or, where they live, or the river corridor. But at the moment, I'd be reluctant for us to do anything sort of collectively. Did I see somebody's hand up? Stuart, did your hand go up?
No, not me.
Sorry, I thought I saw something move in the corner, but no, that's fine. Yeah, so bear that in mind, Brenda, obviously as things progress, but at the moment, sort of individual action only. And this will pick us length apart. Right, so I can't see anything else under community engagement. And lastly, 849, committee officers update. To update any information since the agenda was released. I think probably covered everything, Mark, but anything else from you?
Nothing further from me, Chair.
Brilliant. And Alan, anything else from you?
There's no further information from me.
Okay. So while we've got everybody, so next time for the agenda, we'll have the priorities item, the metal notice boards, a decision around underspends. Are there any other agenda items for next month's meeting that the committee members would like us to focus on, please? No? Brilliant. Well, if anything comes to mind, do let Mark or myself know, and we'll happily build it into the agenda. But for now, thank you all very much for attending, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, folks.